Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back to our second Q&A session. This one will be about your Tolkien Lore questions. The first one was about all the good things about the Amazon series, which will be the topic for next week. So start asking your questions. And yes, this time I want to answer some questions you guys had regarding Tolkien Lore questions. And I picked two really, really good ones. I had some other ones I'll answer another time, aka one I'm literally writing a video about, and one was really it was about Joe Faulkner, shout out to you. It was about the concept of magic, and this literally would take me 5 hours. So Joel, I'll get back to you and we'll definitely answer your question. Not today though, because that would literally, prepare to die, this will be a long one. Now, so I picked really cool questions, and let's start with one of my favorite questions I always had, especially as a child reading that. And I always kept nagging my dad and asking, how is this possible? How does this work? Are there orc women? Spoiler, this is about orcs. So yes, the Dark Lord of the Sith. Hello, epic name. I'm pro Sith. Hello, Palpatine. You're my hero. So he asked about the concept of orcs. Are there female orcs? How do orcs reproduce? Very good question. And again, we need to accept there's no definite answer. Like, this is Tolkien, people. What do you expect? No, just kidding. The thing is, what I think, he changed his mind. Yes, he wrote things, he developed a concept for this, but then he thought about it, he talked to people who had questions like you, like I, about this, and obviously things develop, and it's okay to change your mind, right, on a concept or a theory you had. The thing is, those books were already written, so he couldn't really change it. And so some of the information I will give you here, or some quotes, are from letters, are from the wider legendarium, the extended universe, so to say. And well, for some people, it's not canon, and just what is, written in the published works is canon. But there is no definite answer. There are very, like that, there's not much information about that. It is just they are. But we want to dive a bit deeper and dig a bit deeper, and so therefore I'm especially recommending you Morgoth's Ring in general. That is such an epic book. And there is, I think this is the chapter Myth Transformed. That is the part of Morgoth's book where I got this from mainly, plus one or two of his letters to people that wrote to him, to friends, to his children. There are there's so much information in those letters. And again, I get that people say this is not canon. Sometimes he was literally effing with people, and I don't think this is the case here. But yes, so just to say, there is no real answer. I can't say this is the truth, what I'm telling you here. And I do think there are two questions, or rather three questions. So first question, did Morgoth create the orcs? Is he the father of the orcs? Like, for example, Aule was for the dwarves. And I do think the answer is no, because here comes in Tolkien's Christianity and his beliefs, and his, thinking that there is one God in Christianity, but also in his own world he created. He named him Eru. And we know that Eru was the only one that was able to create. All other beings were just sub-creators. So they worked with something, and yes, they could change it and they could develop it. And, that I think is what happened. But they couldn't bring it into being. And that was exactly what Morgoth hated, that he was not able. He wanted to find, he went to the void, he went everywhere to find the flame imperishable, because he thought this is how he could create life from scratch, basically. But it was just God who was able to do this. And yes, God, with the help of the angels, with the Valar and the Maiar, he created the world and sung the world into being. But that is very different from this sub-creation and creation concept. And so I think for me, the answer is no, he didn't create them. So what did he do? What did he work with? Because he needed something to work with, right? And there are different options we have here, basically. So there is this answer that he corrupted elves. And I do think in the beginning this is what he really wanted to tell us. This was the canon, basically, that orcs are captured elves. They were tortured. They were elves once, and he literally started from the beginning. When the elves were born in Crivennen, when they awoke, literally few hours, well, I'm making this up, but very early on, Melkor came, captured them, corrupted them, enslaved them, and did evil, wicked things to them. And so came the orcs into being. So their foundation, the basis, is an elf, a tortured, corrupted elf. And here comes the problem Tolkien had, because, I mean, you and I in the movies as well as in the books. I mean, yes, slaughter all the orcs, please. I love to see orc heads fly through the air, in all these amazing big battles. And we're literally cheering on our heroes to slaughter these animals. But are they really animals? I mean, they were elves once. So basically, it's elves killing elves, or secondborn killing firstborn. But they are all Ilúvatar's children. It's not their fault. How is it the fault of the orcs that Melkor captured them and tortured them? They didn't ask for this. So I really do think Tolkien, thinking further, had a problem with that concept. And so, was it okay to really slaughter that whole race and for us to cheer for them being killed? I mean, he was he went to wars. He knew what war does to people, and obviously he was against war, and against killing people and slaughtering people. So in the end, this was a story about war, but isn't it very problematic that elves kill former elves? So I do think that was a really, really big problem for him. And again, so let's take one step back. So what else could it be? What we learned definitely later on is that orcs are also, inbreedings of humans, because what is Saruman doing? Saruman is, and I do think those were done landings. I'm not 100% sure if that is in the text. This is what I would assume, that he mingled existing orcs with, who knows, men, and definitely done landings and whatever else he put in there. But you saw that. But what I don't like is the concept of, him dragging them from the mud and, from their cocoon, and then they just are. So I do think that is wrong. And we have proof in letters and text that this is actually not the case, what happened. But so, okay, let's finish on what were the beings he used to create orcs. So some obviously men later on, because it couldn't have been men in the beginning, because men awoke later. So the elves awoke before men, firstborn, secondborn. Men just awoke with the rising of the sun. When the sun first set, men awoke. Elves awoke centuries earlier, in the year of the two trees. So he had to start somewhere. So it were probably elves. And then the concept of, did they, did they do it? So were there orc babies? Did they, reproduce the normal way? And I think yes. And there's a proof in a quote from Tolkien himself. And let me read that to you. For the orcs had life and multiplied after the manner of children of Ilúvatar. So, children of Ilúvatar, men and elves, how did they reproduce? Yes, there were babies. There were elf babies, there were human babies, men babies. What a weird word. And so, yes, this is how orcs reproduced. So there must have been orc babies and there were orc women. Because another quote from Tolkien, and this is one of the letters. I forgot to take a note which letter, but it's from one of the letters, I think to a lady. I forgot who. Post it in the comment section because you guys are way cleverer than I am. I'm just the person getting in front of a camera, blabbering on about this. So let me quote the letter. There must have been orc women, but in stories that seldom, if ever, see the orc except as soldiers of armies, we naturally would not learn about their lives. And there we have it. He says, yes, there were orc women. And yes, it makes sense what he says, this is, and I'm saying this so many times because this is a story about war. We don't learn what Aragorn had for breakfast, what his favorite color was, what he did, in his free time. No, there's no time for that. It's literally war, people. And so there are limited things you can learn because, there are more important things. And yes, this is why we don't learn about orc women. But here he basically confirms, yes, there were women. So again, the concept of orcs reproducing the normal way, like humans and elves do, I would say is confirmed here. And the concept of them, jumping out of a mud pit, it looked kind of cool in the movies, but that is not canon for me. Yeah, so I hope that answered your question. Oh, and one last thought on that. I really do think Tolkien portrays all the beings, the human beings, living beings, as yes, they all multiply the normal way because that is kind of the Christian way, right? Because all beings, even Ungoliant, think about her. She interbred with other beings, with spiders and whatnot, and she had offspring the normal way. So yeah, I really do think this is what he had in mind for the orcs. What the dwarves did, all creatures did that. Even Tom Bombadil, we don't know of children, but he had a wife whom he adored and loved. So I don't know, maybe in 1,000 years, maybe just before Dagorach, they'll have a baby, whatever. But you see the thinking behind this. So orcs are not an exception, but Morgoth, what is very important, didn't create them. He is just able to subcreate like any other beings, like we are. And so therefore Eru was the first one creating, the elves. He captured them and did whatever he did to them. Yes, and so therefore the race of the orcs was created. So yeah, again, I hope I answered your question at least a little bit. And then we had another really cool question, and oh my god, people, everybody who knows me, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I'm really bad with numbers. Like this is I have many weak spots, but this is definitely my weak spot. So Shane Nolan, a shout out to you. He asked me about time, about the concept of time in Tolkien and why time is different before the ages, before the first, second, and third age. And oh my God, people. Okay, so where do we start? So yes, time is different. I don't want to make this though into a math lesson and literally bore you people to death. I will also show you a little chart I made ages ago, I think for one of my first videos actually. And mentioning videos, I'll link my videos because I made 2 videos about exactly what you asked. I made a video about the years of the trees and the years of the sun. So you can check everything there. And there's also, obviously mentioned what happened in those times. It is in the timelines of Ada series. You can find it there. But yes, so the counting of time is different in the ages. So, in general, we should know there are two places where time is basically not valid. That is, for once, the timeless halls. Timeless halls. Yeah, name says it all. And the void. So these are two places which exist outside of time, and we don't know, is time counted? We don't really know about it. But on Earth, in Valinor, in Arda, time is counted, but in different ways through the ages. So there are, and this is what I mentioned, there are the Valiant years, and then I'll show you this chart now. So there are the Valiant years, and then there are the years of the sun. So we have, during the counting of the Valiant years, we have, let's say, three parts, three periods. The first one is the creation of Arda, which was the creation of Arda. And in Valiant years, it is 1,900 years. And counting in years of the sun, which is a different counting. I'll explain in a second how time is counted then. So 1,900 Valiant years equal approximately, it's a bit more, 18,000 years of the sun. So way, way, way more. Then the second part is the years of the lamps, when the two lamps shine in Arda. And then, spoiler, Melkor, like he always did, destroyed those lamps. So that time was a bit shorter. The year of the lamps were around 1,600 Valiant years, which equals approximately, again, 15,000 years of the sun. And now come the years of the trees, the two trees of Valinor, Laurelin and Telperion. And again, later on, spoiler, Melkor destroyed them again. So that was again a little bit shorter. It was 1,500 Valiant years, which equals approximately 13,000 years of the sun. Okay, very interesting fact. I mentioned it before. The elves did awake during that time, and men just awoke a century later in the first age when the sun did rise. After Melkor destroyed the two trees, the sun did arise because, well, sun and moon basically, but it's called years of the sun. And time is counted different from then on. So let me now explain the years of the trees, right? So years of the trees, how is time counted during that time? Time. How often can you say time? Okay, so time was measured by the blooming of the two trees, Laurelin and Telperion. Each tree bloomed for 7 hours, but they overlapped twice a day for 1 hour. So if you deduct those 2 hours, 7 and 7 equals 14. If you deduct the 2 hours when they were overlapping, we have a day of 12 hours. So one day was 12 hours long, measured by the blooming, rising and setting of those two trees. And so one day was 12 hours. And what Tolkien says in his writings, and now just to confuse you a little bit more myself, apparently Tolkien there were some problems in the math he did in different notes and texts they found. And I do think that there's a lot on the internet with people talking about that and calculating it and finding errors and mistakes, but I'm okay with that. I think the general facts are clear, that one Valiant year is 9,582 years of the sun. So one Valiant year is almost, this is what can be your headcanon, around 10,000 years of the sun. What does that mean? Things age and I think this is what Tolkien wants to say, things age very fast when the sun arrives. And it makes sense, before, obviously, a tree doesn't grow when just the moon shines or when there's light very, very far from a far land. So obviously the plant life and all the life on Earth didn't grow as fast and live as fast, as when the sun did shine. So I think that is the idea behind all this. And I find it cool and beautiful, and it makes sense. So again, one Valiant year is around 10,000, 9,500, whatever, 10,000 years of the sun. And going back to the trees, so the hour, so 1 hour in the year of the trees was, to go back to our time, like the real time we have now, was around 7 times as long as our hours. So, I mean, yes, this is super complicated. But again, why did he do this? I think he just wanted to show, okay, there were different stages of life and of, what the beings experienced. And with the men coming into this world in the first age, and then the first age, second age, third age began with men coming into this age. Things got faster, and it was, in a way, like the Peace of Valinor was no longer, and things, wars happened and things quickened, and this equals again with the lifespan of men. They obviously died. Things had to be quicker in a lifetime of a human. He wants to see things, he wants to travel, but this is a very short time span. And I do think this is, for me, why Tolkien did this. So the beginning days, they were blissful, aka boring. Nothing really happened. It took ages and centuries till, first things even happened, and it took, the story started to develop, and everything took forever. But if you're an immortal being, you don't really care about that. You don't really care about time, as if your time is limited on Earth, which basically was the case for the humans with the rising of the sun. So again, I could talk about this forever and ever, and I hate math, so I don't want to keep talking about these years and measurements of time. But I do think there's an idea behind it, and that is the most important thing. And that time, was way slower before the first age, and with the awakening of men, everything changed, and the rising of the sun, which symbolizes the men, things changed. So yeah, I hope I could answer that. Obviously not super satisfying, but go check out my video. And I'm talking about videos. I'm writing the second age as we speak, because one day I want to continue my timeline of Ada series. So I really have the beginning days till the first age completely covered, and now I'm writing second age, and those will be approximately 2 videos at least. It's very long already, I'm very sorry. And what I might do, and leave a comment if you want that, if you're still here and I haven't lost you with days and counting time, and baby orcs. But if you want to, I can, if you're interested, should I do a second age in 5 minutes or something like that video? So 2 long videos with all the information in there, and then a shorter video, because I know, I talk a lot, and sometimes it's hard to then even remember what did she say in the video a month ago. So let me know if you are interested in that. And next Friday there will be the next Q&A session, so leave your questions on social media. Also, follow me on social media, people. I post fun stuff on there. And leave your questions on social media. And here in the community section, I'll post another, I'll post a post where you can ask your questions about the Amazon series, because I really like that one. I got good feedback, and I think for now we will continue that. So if you have questions about the Amazon series you want me to answer, obviously, I don't have insiders there. I can't answer everything. I can just speculate, but I like these speculating stuff a lot. And yeah, so thank you very much. Thank you for staying here for 24 minutes. What is that in Valiant? Yes, I'm just kidding. Yes, thank you, my lovelies. I wish you a wonderful whatever day it is for you. We have just now the snow apocalypse in Germany, so we're completely snowed in. But yay, everybody's loving it. Well, except the people who have to drive. So thank you very much, my lovelies, and bye bye to the next one.